Have you ever looked at your life and wondered if anything is really changing? You've prayed, you've waited, you've hoped, yet somehow, everything still feels the same. The same struggles, the same worries, the same unanswered questions. And after a while, you begin to wonder if God is still moving at all. Maybe you've watched other people celebrate breakthroughs while you're still waiting for one sign that your season is shifting. Maybe you've asked yourself if you've missed something, if you've made too many mistakes, if somehow God has moved on while you're standing still. But what if the silence doesn't mean abandonment? What if the waiting isn't proof that nothing is happening? Because God wants you to hear this tonight. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean God has stopped working. Seeds grow in hidden places. Foundations are built beneath the surface. And some of God's greatest miracles begin in seasons that look completely ordinary. You've been measuring your progress by what you can see. But God has been working in places your eyes cannot reach. He has been shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, preparing opportunities, aligning circumstances, protecting you from paths that would never have brought peace. And even now, while you wonder if life has become stagnant, God is quietly moving pieces into place. The story isn't finished. Your purpose hasn't disappeared. Your prayers haven't been forgotten. And tonight, God wants to remind you that He is still working in your life, even in ways you cannot yet understand. Sometimes the hardest seasons are not the painful ones. They're the quiet ones, the seasons where nothing seems to be happening, no major breakthrough, no exciting news, no visible answers, just day after day that feels almost identical to the one before it. You wake up, go through your routine, carry your responsibilities, and keep moving forward. But deep inside, a question begins to grow. Is anything changing? Am I making progress? Is God still doing something in my life? Perhaps you felt that way recently. You've tried to stay faithful. You've continued praying even when the words felt repetitive. You've continued believing even when your circumstances looked unchanged. You've kept showing up for your family. You've kept carrying burdens that few people know about. You've kept smiling even while feeling emotionally tired. But underneath it all, there's been a quiet fear. The fear that life has become stuck. The fear that your best moments are behind you. The fear that the dreams you once carried may never happen. You look around and see others moving ahead. People finding new opportunities. People entering new seasons. People celebrating answered prayers. And meanwhile, you feel like you're standing in the same place you've been standing for years. That feeling can become exhausting, not because you've stopped believing in God, but because you've grown weary of waiting without seeing results. You wonder if your efforts matter. You wonder if your prayers still matter. You wonder if God still sees the desires you've tucked away inside your heart. But God sees what others cannot see. He sees the courage it takes to keep believing when nothing looks different. He sees the strength it takes to keep hoping after disappointment. He sees the faith it takes to continue walking through ordinary days while trusting that something greater is still ahead. And perhaps that's what you need to remember tonight. You are not failing because life feels slow. You are not forgotten because answers haven't arrived yet. You are not behind because your journey looks different from someone else's. God is not measuring your life by visible results. He is working in ways that often remain hidden until the right moment arrives. Even now, in what feels like an unchanging season, God is still shaping your story. He is still developing your character, still healing old wounds, still strengthening your heart, still preparing blessings that have not yet come into view. And one day, you'll realize that what felt like stagnation was actually preparation. What felt like silence was actually God working quietly behind the scenes. And what felt like standing still was really God leading you forward, one unseen step at a time. Even in the seasons when nothing seems to be changing, God has never stepped away from your life. He has never stopped paying attention. He has never lost sight of where you are. There were moments when you felt alone, moments when you wondered if your prayers had reached heaven, moments when you sat quietly, carrying burdens too heavy to explain, wishing for a sign that God was still near, but His presence has never depended on what you can see. God is with you in the waiting. He is with you in the uncertainty. He is with you in the ordinary days that seem to pass without anything remarkable happening. He is present in the mornings when you wake up feeling weary, present in the evenings when your mind is filled with questions, present in the silent moments when nobody else understands what you're carrying. And even though you may not feel him every day, he is still holding you together. God is still guiding your steps, still protecting you from paths that would lead to harm, still opening doors you cannot yet see, still closing doors that would have taken you away from his peace. You may be focused on what has not happened yet, but God is focused on what he is building within you. Patience, wisdom, strength, compassion, trust, qualities that often grow in seasons where life feels slow, because some of the most important work God does happens beneath the surface. Just as roots grow unseen before a tree becomes strong, God is establishing foundations in your life that will support what he has prepared for your future. So tonight, stop measuring God's presence by visible progress. He has not abandoned you. He has not forgotten your prayers. He has not overlooked your tears. The same God who carried you through previous seasons is carrying you now. And even in this moment, while you wonder what he is doing, he is still working, still loving, still leading, still preparing, and his plans for your life are still unfolding. One faithful step at a time. One of the greatest struggles in a season that feels stagnant is the battle taking place inside your mind. Because when you don't see progress, doubt begins to speak. It whispers that nothing is changing. It tells you that your prayers no longer matter. It convinces you that your waiting has been wasted. And over time, those thoughts can become heavy. You begin questioning your purpose, questioning your direction, questioning whether God is still involved in your story. But this invisible battle has never simply been about circumstances. It has always been about perspective. Will you trust God when you cannot trace his hand? Will you continue believing when evidence seems absent? Will you keep walking forward, even when the path ahead is unclear? These are difficult questions, because most people are comfortable trusting God when doors are opening, when blessings are visible, when prayers are answered quickly. But faith becomes deeper during the seasons when you cannot see immediate results. That's where the struggle often begins. You compare your journey to someone else's. You look at people celebrating victories while you're still carrying unanswered questions. You watch others move into new seasons while you remain in what feels like the same chapter, and disappointment starts building quietly. Not all at once, but little by little, hope becomes cautious, expectations become smaller, dreams become quieter. You stop asking for certain things because you're afraid of being disappointed again. You protect your heart by expecting less. You tell yourself not to hope too much, not to believe too much, not to dream too big, because disappointment hurts. But fear has a hidden cost. It doesn't only protect you from pain, it also keeps you from seeing possibility. It blinds you to the work God is already doing beneath the surface, because while you have been looking for dramatic signs, God has been doing steady work. While you've been searching for visible change, he has been changing you internally, building resilience, developing patience, teaching trust, creating strength that could never be formed in easier seasons. And perhaps that's why this season feels uncomfortable, because growth often happens before evidence appears. Seeds spend time underground before anyone notices life emerging. A foundation is completed long before a house becomes visible, and God's work in your life often follows the same pattern. You may not see movement today. You may not understand the delays. You may not know why things are taking longer than expected, but God is not inactive. He is not distracted. He is not distant. He is preparing things that require time, preparing opportunities that require maturity, preparing blessings that require readiness. And what feels like stagnation today may someday become the season you look back on with gratitude, because it was here that God taught you how to trust him without immediate results, how to believe without certainty, how to keep moving forward even when the future remained hidden. And that changes everything, because the battle is not about whether God is working. He is. The battle is whether disappointment will convince you to stop believing before you see what he has been preparing all along. But what if this season is not a sign that your life has stopped moving forward? What if it is evidence that God is doing some of his most important work right now? Sometimes we assume progress should always be visible. We expect breakthroughs to arrive quickly. We expect answers to come immediately. We expect life to move according to our timelines. But God often works differently. He works patiently. He works intentionally. He works beneath the surface long before we recognize what he is building. Think about the seasons you've already survived. At one point, you thought you would never make it through them. You thought the pain would last forever. You thought the uncertainty would consume you. Yet here you are, stronger, more compassionate, more understanding. The very experiences that once seemed meaningless eventually shaped the person you became, and perhaps the same thing is happening now. Perhaps this season is not empty. Perhaps it is full of preparation. God may be teaching you to trust more deeply, to depend on him more fully, to release the pressure of trying to control every outcome, because there is freedom in realizing that you do not have to understand everything for God to still be working. You do not need to see every answer before taking another step. You do not need to know the entire plan to trust the one who created it. And maybe tonight is the moment when your perspective begins to shift. Instead of asking, "Why is nothing happening?" you begin asking, "What is God preparing?" Instead of focusing on what hasn't arrived yet, you begin appreciating what God is developing within you. Patience, strength, wisdom, resilience, faith, qualities that will support the future he has prepared for you. Because God is not simply interested in changing your circumstances, he is interested in transforming your heart. He wants you to become someone who can walk through new doors with confidence, someone who can receive blessings with gratitude, someone who understands that delays do not mean defeat, someone who knows that waiting does not mean abandonment. And perhaps that's the breakthrough you've needed most. Not immediate answers, not instant results, but the confidence that God is still writing your story, that he is still arranging details, still opening opportunities, still guiding your path, still placing people, experiences, and moments exactly where they need to be. Even now, even in this season, even while life appears quiet, because God has never stopped working, not for a single day, not for a single moment. And one day, you may look back at this season and realize that what seemed like standing still was actually God leading you towards something greater than you could have imagined. That realization changes the way you wait. It changes the way you pray. It changes the way you view your future, because your future is not empty. It is being prepared, and the God who has carried you this far is still faithfully working in your life today. One of the first things a stagnant season tries to steal is your sense of identity. When progress feels slow, it's easy to begin questioning yourself. You wonder if you've lost your purpose. You wonder if you've missed your moment. You wonder if the person you hope to become is slipping farther away with every passing year. But God never measures your worth by your productivity. He never defines you by how quickly things happen. He never sees you as forgotten simply because your season looks different from someone else's. Your identity was never built on visible success. It was never dependent on constant achievement. It was never tied to how many goals you've reached or how many opportunities have come your way. Your identity comes from something much deeper. You are loved. You are seen. You are known. You are valued. Even in seasons when you feel overlooked, even in seasons when nothing appears to be changing, even in seasons when you struggle to recognize your own strength, God still sees the person he created you to be. He sees the compassion you've developed through hardship. He sees the wisdom you've gained through waiting. He sees the resilience you've built through disappointment. He sees the faith that continues to survive despite uncertainty, and those things matter more than you realize. Because God is not only preparing blessings for your future, he is preparing you for them. He is shaping a heart that can appreciate what is coming, a spirit that can remain grateful, a faith that can remain steady regardless of circumstances. So often, people believe they are behind because life isn't unfolding according to their plans. But God is not rushing your story. He is developing it with intention. He is writing chapters that require patience, chapters that require growth, chapters that require trust. And none of that means you are failing. It means you are becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more prepared for the opportunities that still lie ahead. Tonight, Stop speaking to yourself as though your journey has lost meaning. Stop measuring your value by visible progress. Stop allowing temporary seasons to define your permanent identity. Because God has never looked at your life and said, "I'm finished." He still sees purpose. He still sees possibility. He still sees potential. And he still sees someone worthy of hope, someone worthy of peace, someone worthy of new beginnings. That someone is you. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not standing still in God's eyes. You are growing. You are being strengthened. You are being prepared. And even when you cannot recognize it yet, God is continuing the beautiful work He began within you, because your story is still unfolding, and God is still working in your life today. There will come a day when you look back on this season and realize that God was moving all along, not in the ways you expected, not according to your timetable, but in ways that were deeper and and more meaningful than you could have imagined. Because breakthrough does not always begin with a dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins with peace returning to your heart. Sometimes it begins with waking up one morning and feeling hope again. Sometimes it begins with believing that your future still contains beautiful things waiting to unfold. God has not forgotten the prayers you've whispered in moments of exhaustion. He has not ignored the dreams you've buried beneath disappointment. He has not overlooked the tears you've cried when no one else was around. Every prayer matters. Every act of faith matters. Every moment you chose to keep going matters. And even now, God is working behind the scenes, preparing opportunities, arranging connections, opening doors, closing paths that would have led you away from peace, leading you toward places you cannot yet see. The breakthrough may not happen overnight, but that does not mean it isn't coming. Growth often happens slowly. Healing often happens quietly. Transformation often happens before anyone notices visible change. And perhaps that's exactly where you are today, in a season where roots are growing beneath the surface, a season where God is strengthening your foundation, a season where He is preparing you for what lies ahead. Because when the right moment arrives, you'll understand why certain doors remained closed. You'll understand why certain prayers took time. You'll understand why waiting was necessary. And you'll discover that God was never delaying your life. He was developing it. The truth is, your story still contains chapters you haven't lived yet, moments of joy you haven't experienced, blessings you haven't received, people you haven't met, opportunities you haven't imagined, peace you haven't fully embraced, and God is guiding you toward them one faithful step at a time. So tonight, let hope return, let expectation rise, let your heart believe again, because God is still writing your story, still shaping your future, still creating beauty from seasons that once felt empty, still working in ways your eyes cannot yet perceive. And even if you cannot see the evidence today, trust this truth. God has never stopped moving. He has never stopped caring. He has never stopped preparing good things for your life. The season may feel quiet, but heaven is not silent. God is still working, and your breakthrough may be much closer than you think. Tonight, release the burden of believing that nothing is happening. Release the pressure to have every answer. Release the fear that your life has stopped moving forward. God is still working, even in the waiting, even in the silence, even in the ordinary moments that seem unchanged. He sees your heart. He knows your struggles. He understands your questions, and He has never stopped walking beside you. May peace fill the places where anxiety has lived. May hope rise where discouragement once settled. May faith grow stronger than fear. And may you find rest in knowing that God is still writing your story. Nothing has been wasted. No prayer has been ignored. No tear has been forgotten. The season you're in is not the end. It is part of a greater journey. Trust Him. Keep believing. Keep moving forward. Because even when you cannot see it, God is still working in your life today. And one day, you will look back and realize that He was guiding you all along. Rest tonight. You are loved. You are seen, and your story is far from over.